This is Moray Robert B. Holman Jr.
Moray, Sean Appleton.
and this is
Hebrews in Exile.
How you
Moray,
doing, my brother?
I am doing well. I cannot complain. The Most High has been able to sustain me, my family. He's been able to sustain us. He's been able to keep his people in exile amongst all of the things that have come upon us. And we still stand.
Yeah,
Here we are. So I can complain. And yourself?
I'm doing quite well. Had a real good day today. I've been, I have been encountering more people who are asking me about this, what we do.
Podcasting?
No,
Hebrew.
yes, about the Hebraic way.
Really? Okay.
So I went into AT&T Monday to get some work done on my phone. I needed some things done.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there talking, and the guy asked me, the rep asked me, he says, well, what kind of business do you do? Are you in? I says, well, I oversee a ministry. So, okay. He says, what kind of ministry is it?
Okay.
I go, well, it's Hebraic ministry. What is that?
Ah, okay. Curious.
The
So-
what is that? While they're working on my phone, gets us into this discussion about Hebraicness, what it is, and what the Most High teaches and what have you.
See, I gotta ask you, when you go ahead and you say you lead with stuff like that, and you say somebody asked me about being Hebraic or something about being Hebrew, I should always lead, and I'm going to lead with, how much time did y'all spend on it? Because you was probably, knowing you, when they opened the door, it was like, yeah, I was supposed to go in there for half an hour, but I was in there for at least 3.
Well, the young man said, well, he says, well, no, I'm interested in this. And so we talked for as long as he had time to talk,
Okay.
which finally he said, well, I got to go.
Okay.
I go, okay. He says, but that's interesting. What you told me is very interesting. And he was Hispanic,
Okay.
and his family was quite naturally Catholic.
Catholic, yeah.
And so I explained to him, I said, well, you know why your family's Catholic, don't you? And he said, yeah, they came over and laid this on us. Yeah,
Proselytized you.
yeah. So, he understood. But then I was somewhere else, and I forget now where I was, and the subject came up again. And, of course, I'm having a discussion with a very dear friend of mine who has just turned to be Christian, and I keep asking him questions, and so now I'm in the
yeah.
process of trying to help him to understand the difference between what is true and what is not true.
Oh, okay, good. He's continuing to be curious.
Yeah.
And to understand. It's good. He's got an open mind to at least hear the information, weigh it, and disseminate it, and then make a honest decision.
Yeah, and the problem that we have being us is that we don't have this rah stadium of people,
Yeah.
that cause people to feel more comfortable, in a body of people, and to fellowship with, we understand where we are. We understand we're on this island kind of by ourselves.
Sure.
But the thing that I'm finding that's very critical is that, and this I've known for a while, Christianity is, I'm going to say it, it's vile. It does not have a clue, not a single clue
Mm-hmm.
about the Most High and the Most High's expectations and the certain critical things that you need to have a real correct relationship with Him.
Sure. Sure.
Two, they absolutely have no fear of the Most High.
Agreed.
Three, they do not have any training.
I was going to say that, yeah.
They do not have any training in the ways and the expectations of the Most High El.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're studying something of antiquity, and there's no time spent in dealing with those things that are germane to the things that are of antiquity, culture, history, any of those things, because our people don't tend to seem to want to gravitate to education. They want to have things turned up to 11, and they want to be able to be made to feel good about their present situation in Western culture, which has nothing to do with anything that's in text.
I was reading in the book that I have, the Council of Nicaea, A.D.
325.
325.
Yep.
And I saw language in there that it states clearly that a lot of the things that are in Christianity come out of Rome and come out of Greece and are associated with Greek deities
Oh, yeah.
and philosophers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, and I'm going in my mind, I'm saying, I'm reading our text.
Mm-hmm.
Our text, the Hebrew text, has to be set apart from the other text, because if we're reading the correct text, we understand that it's the words of the Creator.
Sure.
Now, I've said this before, and I need to say it again. I did a teaching not too long ago on Bibles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where you went over
I went over
the versions
the
and
versions, the
yeah.
Bibles, and the numbers, and so forth and so
Mhm.
on. And there is not one European-made Bible that is correctly translated from the Masoretic text. Not one.
Okay.
They violate the cardinal rule
Mm-hmm.
that is established in Deuteronomy chapter 4 and Deuteronomy chapter 12, the last two verses in 12, if you're reading a European Bible. If you're reading a Hebrew Bible, then it begins in chapter number 13, the cardinal rule that talks about do not add or do not subtract from.
Correct.
So when you lay a European Bible next to a Hebrew Bible and you read it, you will find that there is a plethora of addition and subtraction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we look at historical writings that give us understanding of the origin of Bibles, you will hear it stated that the Hebrew Bible is the most correct and substantial rendering of scriptural text.
Sure. 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 I'd agree with you.
We can begin, as I always do, by placing Exodus chapter 3, verse 13, 14, 15, and 16 against the Hebrew Bible, and you will find that they have left out the critical thing where he says, "And this shall be my name throughout all generations." In the European Bibles, they don't tell you what that name is.
Correct. Correct.
That's one.
Uh-huh.
So they left that out.
On purpose.
In Isaiah chapter 14, they add the text where they talk about the fall of Lucifer.
Yeah.
They added that in because the text in Isaiah 14 is not about Lucifer at all.
That's right.
It's about Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Those are two places where they have added and or subtracted, and it's key.
Mm-hmm.
In Joel, forget what chapter it is, they that call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. They have
3.
They have deleted the name that you're supposed to call upon, which is Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. And those are just some examples.
The Catholic Pope or Cardinal has come out and is publicized on YouTube, one in particular who has offered $1,000 to any individual who can show him in Scripture where you're supposed to worship on Sunday as opposed to the Sabbath.
This is a Catholic Pope.
Yes. Cardinal.
Cardinal. Okay. I said
Yes.
Pope. You said Cardinal. Okay.
Who has publicly gone out and stated that there is no scripture that says that anybody is supposed to worship on Sunday. And he's offered $1,000 to anybody who can bring him scripture to show that there is. And he says, so far, I don't have any takers.
So why all the cognitive dissonance, even with all those examples that you've just given?
The Catholic Church has said, we have changed the Sabbath to Sunday because we could.
Sure.
The Catholic Church is responsible for canonizing Scripture. The Catholic Church is responsible for violating the cardinal rule of adding and subtracting, and yet and still we read their document and swear by it. I'm lost. I don't understand. I don't understand how a reasonable, cognitive, educated individual cannot understand that you have been hoodwinked and bamboozled.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
Matter of fact, let me let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see if I can pull this up.
I mean, you could disagree with this as you're pulling this up. I mean, when I hear you make that statement, it's part of me says it's kind of human nature a little bit to somehow gravitate to where there's safety, and sometimes there's safety in the herd. There's safety in numbers. To say, well, you know, everybody can't be wrong, and this is what's widely accepted. Even though I may not agree with it in its entirety, there's got to be some validity to it because there's so many people that have invested in it, so on and so forth. But, you know, I just think that's part of human nature a little bit in some people.
Yeah, but the problem being is that we as a people should at least investigate.
And that's the problem.
We should at least as people ask the question.
Yeah, because you did a teaching not too long ago on the podcast is that what's really most important to you, your soul and your spirit should be the most important thing to you. And you spend no time investigating the things that are in text that speak to it in a systemic or germane to your soul. You allow somebody to get on stage and pontificate in front of a microphone and tell you what thus saith, and you just believe it. And you won't do any of the research. So that's why you're not invested in it. People will, in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm pretty sure you run across this all the time. You challenge, you put truth. You get put out a short not too long ago, or Ambassador Tate put out a short of you saying, listen, when truth shows up at your doorstep, it really costs you too much sometimes to confront that because it's really going to change your lifestyle. But at the same time, it's still incumbent upon you, or it's still your responsibility to search out a matter so you understand what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get off just saying, well, I just believed it because I believe he's the man of God.
Right.
What kind of I don't know where you can continue to keep you. I mean, that's the only place, like I said, churches on Sunday are the only place where you can live in Disneyland for a couple of hours and believe it and then go back into the real world, and the real world functions completely different. Just completely different.
Here.
Got it?
Yeah, I
Where
got
we
it.
at?
Let me see if I can pull it up.
From this tale about a figure that we created called Jesus Christ, that Pope Leo X knew. The Christian faith was, I say it again, was the most influential belief system in the Western world for more than 1,000 years. 1515. What year did I just say? One more time. What year? In 1515, Pope Leo X. Write it down. Don't take my word for it. Pope Leo X in the year 1515 said these words. Look at how much money we've made from this tale about a figure that we created called Jesus Christ. That Pope Leo
Wow.
X knew. The Christian faith.
But there's the issue. You can put that truth and have somebody go research that, and they will still.
Now,
That's the issue.
I'm bringing this up, and I'm saying this because the Catholic Church has documentation that supports the fact that they are the instrument that has created this idolatrous religion that violates every principle of the Most High. And the fact of the truth of the matter is that they realized what they created would be something of this magnitude.
Yeah. A money machine. Wow.
Now, it is important for people who are concerned about their soul, and which is the main reason for which most people go to church, is they're trying to save their soul. To understand that Christianity is not going to save your soul.
Mm-hmm.
It is a religion that has come into existence and been created by a man, human beings, and not by the Creator, the Most High himself. He did not create a religion. He created for us a way of life.
Right. 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 A lifestyle.
Now, with Rome being the nation in Daniel, let's go there for a minute.
Okay.
And Daniel, where are you? Here you are. In Daniel chapter number 7. Daniel, where are you, Daniel? Here you are. In Daniel chapter 7.
The dream.
In verse number 7. First of all, Daniel opens up for us in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 2. Talks about the vision that I saw before the 4 winds of the sky breaking out over the great sea, and the 4 huge animals came up out of the sea, each different from the others. So he's seeing a vision of 4 animals. One's a lion, one's a bear, one's a leopard, and this fourth animal is Rome. The 4th animal, which is dreadful, horrible, extremely strong, and with great iron teeth. That's Rome. Now, we hear this verbiage that talks about, and the whole world wandered after the beast.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at Daniel chapter 7, I have a lion, I have a bear, I have a leopard, and I have this 4th animal that's dreadful. In terminology, in Christian terminology, these are defined as beast and beast nations. These beast nations are anti-Elohim, anti-El, and for those of you who don't know the language, I'm going to use the language, but it's not true, it's not a correct word. They are anti-God nations. So the whole world has wandered after nations' theological rhetoric that is against every principle and every thought that is associated with him.
Okay. And it's not so. Usually, before in the past, what they would relate that to is these. They followed after the beast is what? The Antichrist?
The Antichrist.
That's not the Antichrist. That's a beast nation.
Oh. And that's the subject for another time. With this being the case, Sean, they gave the world a religion that is filled with idolatry.
Sure. Tons of it.
The Catholic Church said that they changed the Sabbath to Sunday, which means they changed the Sabbath to correspond with their sun worship God.
Sure.
Now, you just heard the guys talk about what happened in 1515 that the Pope said they did.
Yeah.
We did this.
Yeah.
So do you realize that every Sunday, when you get up, you put your clothes on, and you go to Sunday church, you're going to worship idolatrous.
See, yeah, that
The day itself, when it's ascribed to worship, is an idolatrous day. Sunday was the day that was set aside in Mithra, Roman cult, as its official day to assemble together to worship its sun deity. The Roman Emperor Constantine legislated Sunday as a day of rest dedicated to the Greek and Roman sun god Helios. Constantine worshiped Christos, Helios, which means Christ, the true sun, S-U-N. The Roman Catholic Church venerates Sunday as its Sabbath even today and has handed it down to Christianity.
yeah.
Now,
Go ahead.
that's historical fact.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're providing that kind of context and backing the point up to give its, genesis of where it's come from and how it's progressed through history. One of the things that, if I can interject for a second. And
Well, it's a podcast. You can interject.
No, because, you're on a roll. Not to that extent. When I present that information to even family members that are in Christianity, and I ask them the simple question, you believe in the 10 Commandments, don't you? Yo, yeah, sure, we believe in the 10 Commandments. Do you know what the fourth one is? They go look it up. Before you even go ahead and look it up, let me tell you what it is. It's about observing the Sabbath. How do you reconcile that you are a Christian and that you observe the 10 Commandments, but the fourth one you will not do, knowing that it says that it's the Sabbath? You know what answers I get? Every day is holy. Every day is set apart. So if we decide to do it on Sunday, then Sunday is now holy. That's how they reconcile it in their mind, to say that's our Sabbath.
Okay. That's not a problem for me.
Okay.
Why is it not a problem for me?
Yeah, please.
Ask me.
Why is it not a problem for you, sir?
Because they have ascribed to the religion of their father, the Roman Catholic Church. And the sad part about it is that they don't even know how Catholic they are.
Right. Exactly.
I have to come at you. I have to come at you. Oh, Father, help me. If I do not come at you knowing what I know and realizing that the sword is coming, the prophet tells me that if you see the sword coming and you fail to warn the people, then their blood will be up on your hands.
Absolutely.
If you warn the people and they do not adhere to the warning, then the blood is not up on your hands, it is up on them. So I have to tell you the truth so that you will at least have heard it. So if you listen to this podcast and you're listening to me and what I'm saying to you, that's coming from historical fact and scriptural fact, now you are going to be held accountable to the Creator.
Now we got to pause there and let that rest, because that speaks to not only, that's hitting me personally because I still have apprehensions, even within my own family members, to bring up these issues in front of them because they skate around it so quick. And I know that I profess to be a moray and whatnot, but I still struggle with some of these issues as well because it's very awkward to not only be able to witness to family members, but then also at the same time not try to destroy a relationship because of this particular situation. So what this is doing for me is saying, you know what? You have no excuse. Henceforth, when it comes up, and I profess it, they know that I'm worship on the Sabbath. They respect that. But I have to be more forthright in my challenging of family members as to why do you do what you do? And if they come back, and I had some family members come back and tell me, that's the way it's always been, and that's the way I'm comfortable with it, and that's what I'm sticking to. Okay. There's a text over there on their side of the street that says, shake the dust off your feet and keep it pushing. That's your calling and your election, and you've made sure of that, then I don't have to deal with it anymore. But what this is speaking to me right now as I sit here is to say, you know what? Your apprehension should be alleviated because you still have to warn the people even if they don't want to hear it.
Even if they don't want to hear it. Now, in that instance, we take a page out of all the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the prophets spoke to Hebrew Israel, and they did not adhere to what the prophets had to say. And in some instances, the prophets were martyred. They were killed because the people did not want to hear what they had to say. But the prophets spoke what the Most High told them to say anyway, even at the stake of their lives.
Yeah. Agreed. Without any reservation at all. And that's fortifying my mind right now and it's strengthening me to say, hey, listen, no matter what, these are our Hebrew brothers and sisters, and we have a right to let them know what's going on. And by holding our tongue back, it's not doing us any good because you're apprehensive. I don't want to feel like I'm being put into a situation where I'm being a coward for the Most High, where I'm holding back. And I got to just, like I said, it's a natural thing because we love our family members. We want to preserve those relationships that we have with our friends. And sometimes it's just going to be awkward. But I'm doing you more good by telling you what thus saith the Most High and backing it up with text. And then even even the references that you have to say, seek out the matter and even point people in that direction and let them make up their own minds about what's there so they can disseminate it.
Hey, Yahweh's portion, I see you, and you're stealing all my thunder. But I can see from your comments that you are intuitive concerning the matters that are germane to Christianity and its origin. I'm just getting ready to read from a source that even explains the origin of the word Jesus, which comes from the Greek name Iesous, I-E-S-O-U-S, the Latin I-E-S-U-S, is adopted from the name of the Greek goddess of healing, Laos, the daughter of Apollo, the sun deity. This goddess was linked to the Egyptian Isis, who had a son named Isu, I-S-U, during the era of Roman emperors. There were numerous worshippers of Isis, many converted to Constantine's religion that mixed paganism with the Messianic faith that eventually became the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church continues to use sunburst emblems known as the Eucharist, which to this day contains the Greek letters IHS for IHSOUS. Further research reveals the name of Jesus is linked to the Greek sun god Zeus, who was the Greek which was the Greek interpretation of the Egyptian sun god Amun-Ra. I mean, and the whole world wondered after
the beast.
the beast. And the killing thing about it is that they don't want to know, they won't research it, and even if they realize and nod, well, that's true, well, then you ought to do something about the error. Because the thing for me, Sean, is that you're leading people down a wrong road. There is a way that seems right unto men. The end thereof is destruction.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have, like I said before, I don't have any other explanation for the cognitive dissonance other than the fact that we're dealing with a lot of sheeple, and there is safety in numbers, and they don't want to do any research. They don't want to do any study, and therefore we are in the situation that we are in now. And listen, Hebrews are notorious for this, about following after other people. That's one of the things that the Most High warns us when he gets back into the land. When you see these other nations around, you don't do what they are doing. Expel all of their idol gods. Get them out of the land so you don't have any distractions except to focus on me. And what do we do every single time? It's one of our traits is being stiff-necked and hard-headed.
Yah's portion. I see you up there, and I like this. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 11. Hath a nation changed their gods, which are not yet no gods, but my people have changed their glory for that which doth not do anything at all. You see, the whole reason that we are in this exile is because our forefathers did that which was wrong in the eyes of the Most High. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 7. And the killing part about all this is, while it is that you can hear the language, we're living in the last days, well, if we're living in the last days, then doggone it, you ought to be doing something to change.
You would think. You would think.
You ought to be doing something that brings you back to the center of understanding. And yet, when you hear truth, you blow it off as though it's not important. But I'm telling you, these words that I'm speaking to you in this podcast are the words and the history that is associated with the Most High El and his people. And the problem with that is, y'all don't even want to be his people.
Yeah. We so busy being like everybody else.
Think about this. If I ask you, well, do you want to be Israel? No.
Why? Because I'm going to tell you my reason. Because Israel right now is associated with a group of people that don't look like you.
That's not Israel.
That's right. Your first image when you think of Hebrews are a bunch of guys that are non-melanated, that wear a bunch of black hats and walk around.
That's not Israel.
That's not Israel. So that's what we get all the time. We're Hebrews, and that's the first thing people say. Oh, you must be Jews. So it's an association that people have already right off the bat that gives you a negative connotation.
But let's go on. Let me take this
Okay.
for a thought. You don't want to be Israel, but you worship a guy who claims he's from Israel and also from the tribe of Judah, which he's not.
Which he's not. Yeah, he's not from the tribe of Judah.
But you worship him, and by all the information that you have, he's a Jew.
Right.
But you don't want to be Israel. Israel's not Jew. Israel is Hebraic. Israel comes from the lineage of Father Abraham.
Mm-hmm. If you roll it all the way back, you get back to Eber, where that word actually comes from.
He comes from Father Abraham. I'm trying to find the text where he went to war,
He says,
Lot
he said,
got
go get
Abraham the Hebrew.
Yeah, I want to say it's
Where's
14,
that?
17, somewhere
Where
in there.
is
I'm going
that?
to find it for you.
Where is that? I thought it was in 10, but it's not in 10.
Yeah, I thought it's further along than that.
Yeah. Go tell Abraham the Hebrew. Now, understand something. Abraham,
Where is that? Oh, my goodness.
Abraham is the father of the Hebrew nation.
I'll tell you real quick.
And
14? Good.
chapter 14?
Yeah, it's somewhere down towards the bottom. It's Bereshit chapter number 14. Let's see. Abraham, Elion. Is it? Oh, that's talking about Melchizedek is in that one. Melchizedek. Abraham, the son of Sidon, escaped. And there it is. Go 13. 14, 13. As a matter of fact, you can go all the way up to 12. It says, but they left and they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, which was made of him his nephew, and his possessions since he was living in Sidon. 13, someone who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Mori, brother of Escalol, the brother of Abner, all the olives.
So the ethnicity of the people of Israel is Hebrew.
Yeah.
That's their ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
Their ethnicity is associated with their language.
Correct.
The language that we read when we're reading text is not Jewish, it's Hebrew. So when I tell you that I can read Hebrew, that doesn't mean that I'm Jewish. That means that I'm Hebrew. That's my language. That's the language of the ethnic people of Israel that's associated with Father Abraham.
Okay.
So to be identified with your people is something that you ought to want to do. But you don't. You want to be identified with the nations to whom the Most High has said, in my eyes, they're less than a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And a dust of sand.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take a little side quest real quick. I know you're on a roll. This issue came up, again, I keep going back to my family. We had a conversation, and in that conversation, I said, do you realize how many melanated people are actually in what you call the Old Testament? And it was a revelation to say, I never thought that there was any black people in the Old Testament at all. Now, granted, we don't use that word. I'm just using their vernacular that they were using at the time. But it is a perception and a cultural thing that's been established that blocks you from, gives you this cognitive dissonance with connection with the text. I said, do you realize that you are part of a group of, you have your own nation, you have your own real estate, you have an association with the Most High? I said, we never even looked at it like that, because every time we go over it, again, I will continue to keep saying this, is that when you're reading the Masoretic text, when you're reading the Ketuvim, the Nevi'im, and the writings, and the Torah, you're reading something that is a technical manual. There's technical things in there that are based on the mitzvot, and you have no training on how to understand the mitzvot and be able to apply them to the text that you're reading. So when you have people that are unlearned about how the Hebrew culture, how antiquity works, how all those things are a part of our people, and then try to surface read and come back on the Masoretic text and come over here, you're never going to get the depth of understanding that's over there. And it's plus on top of the fact, when you have associations, when anytime that you talk about anything Hebraic, you're talking about the image of Ashkenazis. When I say something about Israel, you're going to immediately think about the state of Israel right now and the Palestinians right now. You're not going to think about you and I, because there's no teaching on that other side of the street in Christianity to lead there. And why would they? Because anything that's germane to Hebrew dismantles the Christian thought in its entirety. You cannot have Christianity and sit there and profess to be observing the mitzvot. It's impossible. I don't even know how Christianity even professes to even observe the 10 Commandments, because I can dismantle. You don't even follow the first one that's on there if you read it. So if I apply the things that the Most High says, we call it across the street in Christianity, it falls apart. That's why one of the main foundations that we continue to keep saying, cornerstones of Christianity, is that the law has been done away with. Get rid of it. Once you get rid of that, now the barn doors are open for you to make that text out to be anything you want it to be. Now it can be open to everybody. It's not just germane. That's why I will always contend that it's an agenda. Christianity was set up to sell you one person, which is Jesus Christ. The first thing you come off of in Matthew is the selling of that particular person. And through that, trying to justify his genealogy through the house of Yehuda, which is a poor example because he's not. Obviously, we have established quite solidly. You continue to keep establishing this person as your cornerstone. Which, again, what does it do? Christianity gets rid of a chosen people, it gets rid of a chosen land, and it gets rid of the mitzvot of the Most High. Once you get rid of those three components, which are key cornerstones, now you can have anything you want. And that's hard for people to understand that.
And that was the purpose of Constantine, and that was the purpose of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting here listening to us and watching the chat. And I know people listening to this podcast are going to probably wonder, why do you guys hammer so hard on the Christian church? I hammer on it because it's in the way, and it needs to be broken up and demolished and hauled off to the dump. That's what you do with trash.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's why I hammer on it. I hammer on it because it is destroying the life source of my people, who don't even know they're my people, who don't even know they're the Father's people, because that is in the way. And it needs to be removed by any and all means possible.
Yep.
But that's the way it's been for yes, I understand that. Just because that's the way it's been does not make it right.
Right. Facts.
nobody has the authority and the right to change what the opulent spirit put in place. And then they say, oh, you follow the law of Moses. No, I don't. I follow the law that the Most High gave Moses to speak to me so that I would know what it is. It's not Moses' law. It's what the Most High gave him to speak. Now, I'm going to say something to you church people when you say that to me. I'm going to ask you a question. So, when you get up in the pulpit on Sunday, are you talking to me out of your own head, or are you talking to me from something that you said that God gave you to say? So if you tell me, well, God told me to tell you, so that's not you. So I can't say, well, so-and-so, no. God spoke to you and told you to say that. So you don't own it.
Great point.
Moshe doesn't own the teachings of the Most High. He's only the spokesman that the Most High used, because the Most High is a spirit. He is not a human being and never can be a human being. He speaks to human beings to speak on his behalf.
Right.
So don't tell me that, well, you believe in the law of Moses. No, I believe in the teachings of the Creator, who spoke to Moses to speak to me and tell me what they are. Get it straight.
Right. And don't frame it in a way like that's something that what the Most High gave Moshe to tell his people as something that's being bad. See how that's framed? Like, oh, you do the law. Excuse me. You mean to tell me that what I'm doing, being pleasing in the sight of the Most High, doing what he asked me to do, that's bad? All of a sudden now? See, I got to attack the framework on how that's actually coming, because if I go over to that hypocritical piece of work that y'all got over there, I can tear that down in a heartbeat by the word of the Most High, because it doesn't follow it at all. You see contradictions all over the place over there. So you mean that's what I'm framing. It's a very triggering thing, like, for us to talk about this, because this is, you have so many people that go to, I said this before. I said it's like living in the land of Oz. What do we have in Oz? We have the Tin Man. We have Dorothy. We have, who else? The Lion. Yeah. Who else was with him?
Yeah,
and who else? Tin Man, Dorothy, the Lion, and come on, the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow, yeah.
Scarecrow.
Yeah.
So a lot of these Christians, to me, are like the Cowardly Lion. They're loud. They're brash. They'll say it with your chest. But then when you put truth in front of them, they run like the Cowardly Lion because they can't confront it. And all of us are kind of like Dorothy. All we want to do is click our heels 3 times and go home. Just take us back to the land. I don't want to be in exile anymore. Just take me back home, because I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that's what they sound like to me. They just sound loud and brash, but then when you put logic in front of them, just like you read, you gave the backup and all of the things that can establish a talking point and precedent, they don't want to deal with it. It's like challenging their own faith is a no-no.
Yeah, I mean, I get asked a question. So, well, you don't believe that Jesus is God? No. Oh, well, okay. Well, we'll be in touch.
Right. You go back to your demigod.
So now you don't want to have a conversation over why it is that I'm making the statement. I'm not a heretic. Mm-hmm. Trust the fact I'm not a heretic.
Right.
And I'm not involved in idolatrous worship. Neither am I involved in idolatrous language.
Right.
Which you are.
Exactly.
And don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yep.
You know what's a booger?
What's that?
To have cancer and not know it?
Sure. Yeah.
That's a booger. That's a heck of a place to be, to not realize that you have a disease in you that's killing you and you don't know it.
Right. And I'm going to piggyback off that. Come on, finish your point. because I had somebody at work I had to deal with.
Go.
Just like that. See, this is what we're dealing with. To have cancer, not know it. There are some people, and I had this experiential knowledge. Guy at work found out, chain smoker, found out that he had throat cancer. Went in, had the work done. Went through the chemo, all that. Came out, started smoking again. Asked him the question, why are you smoking? You just went, you know that this gave you cancer. You just fought it, and they removed it and beat it to a degree so you could live a lot longer, and you're outside chain smoking again. You know what his answer to me was? I've been doing it all my life. I got to die somehow, and I guess I'm going to do it the way I want it. There's just going to be some people that when you present this information to them, even if it's late in life and they find out that they got cancer, and even if they decide to do the research, they are not going to leave it. And that's where we just got to be like, you know what? Just like when we talk in the text, when we get back in the land, 2/3 of y'all are going to get axed. That don't mean everybody is going to make it.
No.
But we gotta sound the shofar while we're here so we can start the change and to turn the people's hearts back to the Most High, which is what we're, this dispensation of time is made for us to do, is to wake our people up.
I don't know. I don't know. Truth is one of the hardest things to acquiesce to. We would rather have somebody lie to us than tell us the truth and then turn around and say, well, all liars are going to have their part in the lake from your text. But just lie to me. Make me feel good.
Yeah. People would love to believe.
Well, how do I know it's a lie? I'm giving you historical and scriptural fact. Look it up for yourself. Stop being a bobblehead and do the research. Start asking questions. Ask your pastor, well, how come the scripture says that we're supposed to honor the Sabbath, but we don't? How come we don't do that? I just told you up front the Catholic Church changed it, which means if you're not doing it, then you're following the ways of a Catholic, and you're more Catholic than you even know that you are. But you don't, watch your mouth. You don't care.
Yeah. Well, let's finish it. Let's be practical with the people. You do that to their pastor. You tell somebody to go do that to the pastor.
He tells you every day.
And he's going to tell you, this is what they're going to say. This is what's going to happen to me. Because, we came out of that, PAW, Baptist, bylaws, and all those types of things. You're a heretic now. So you're going to get sat down in the back, and you're going to get sequestered. Now I lose all my friends. Now my family's looking at me like I'm crazy and all that type of stuff. And that's what you came out with the short and said. When truth gets placed at your doorstep, you got to be able to pay. You got to be able to understand that it's going to cost you something. And for most people,
they don't want to pay the price.
They don't want to pay the price for truth. It's too much. And that's a shame.
I have to tell you the truth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It breaks my heart. But you know what? I sit here tonight with this discussion, and I understand why the prophet Isaiah was called the weeping prophet.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yep.
Because the things that he saw and the things that he had to deal with, it broke his heart to the point of actually weeping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get it. I understand him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it breaks my heart to see the fact that men and women won't be brave enough. They'll say, for God I'll live and for God I'll die, and that's a lie. Because when it comes to truth, they're not brave enough to step out and acknowledge the truth that resides in Scripture because it costs too much.
Right. Way
It'll
too much.
cost me my church. It'll cost me my members. It'll cost me everything that I've worked hard to acquire.
Yep. My reputation.
What
Yeah.
does it profit a man to gain this whole world and lose
Lose it.
his soul?
Agreed.
I'm going to leave it there for now.
All right.
I pray for my people. They look at me like I've lost my mind. I go amongst them, and they smile. They do me like the Madagascar movie. They
Just smile and
they
wave.
just smile and wave.
Right.
And I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I don't understand how you can live in this world without Jesus. You've been living in this world all the time without him, because he's a demigod. He's fictional. He's the orchestration of the Romans and the Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
He does not exist before Malachi.
Mm-hmm. Not even if in the imagination.
He doesn't exist before Malachi. And Malachi is the last voice of the Most High to anybody to speak for him. So 400 years later, he woke up and had Greece and Rome speak for him?
Yeah, nation, a beast nation that he said that he was going to do what?
Come on, people.
Yeah.
Come on, people.
Yeah, y'all don't know your Most High.
Come on. Get out of the shimmy shake, and the shout and the hoopla, and let's settle down and let's come to our senses and get some cognitive understanding. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Knowledge of who? Me. They
Right.
do not know me. I'm going to close with this. If you knew the Most High, you would fear him. And you have absolutely no fear of him at all. This has been Moray Robert B. Holman Jr.
And Moy Sean Appleton.
And this has been
Hebrews in Exile.